We are almost done with the stream. There's still 8 minutes left, 7 minutes left before the top of the hour. So if you've got something that you feel very important that we react to or that we talk about, leave a super chat. We will keep streaming as long as super chats are there to be read. Including this super chat from Kim Fused. Always good to hear from you, Kim Fused. I hope you're doing well. Kim Fused is one of the Rotor Riot Quad Crew supporters and always shows up to those streams that I do. Her and her husband. And many other people too, unrelated to Kim. But Kim, thank you for a $20 super chat for goat training, and thank you for all that you both do. There will not be any goat training. Our goats are the best we can do is to train them that when they hear the clankety clank, that means there's feed and they need to come running. Any other kind of like don't eat my hedge, no. We just moved them into a new area, so they got some fresh grass to eat.
You're not gonna clicker train your goat?
I mean, I believe that it's possible, but I know. Goats are highly motivated and intelligent. But they would much rather eat my hedge than not eat it. They're supposed to be eating the poison ivy.
Do your dogs herd the goats? Is that a thing?
Mamba, he will chase them and like nip at their neck, which they do not like. We don't like. This is like we actively prevent this, but sometimes it happens due to our failure of our prevention. He will not herd them, but he will chase them like he is going to take them down and kill them. He doesn't, but he will like nip at their neck while they run, and I am sure that they think they're going to die. But being prey animal, that's just like, oh. And like 5 minutes later, they're just like, they don't even seem to remember that happened.
Yeah,
so
we just call that Wednesday.
right, exactly. It's weird because he'll be totally cool around them and just like, meh, there they are. And then he'll just get a wild hair and like run them down. The final straw was, we thought they were getting along, but the final straw was, we have this on my patio, right? We have this brick wall that's cut into a hill. I'm sure you've seen it on my videos. It's about 12 feet high, let's say. And the goats were on top of the hill, and he chased them, and one of them leapt off the hill. So I'm sitting down there on my laptop at the table, and all of a sudden there's a goat flying through the air at my head. It didn't hit me. The goat landed. It ran away and didn't seem to be hurt, but I didn't think jumping off a 12-foot wall was like something that the goat should do every day. And we were like, he can't be out with the goats anymore. So, Isaac Mitchell, thanks for a $2 super chat. Just woot woot. Hammer Danil, thanks for a $2 super chat. Is it easy to bind a TX16S to Express LRS? It's as easy as Express LRS ever is. Blunty, what's your go-to method right now for binding Express LRS?
Just quick tips. The first thing you do, check your Express LRS Lua and look at what version of Express LRS you're on. If you need to update, you have to flash 252 first. If you're under 252, then you flash the repartitioner, then you flash 3.x. Once you've done that, or you're on the same version as maybe like an SPI receiver, which 4.3 is 2.x and 4.4 is 3.x, or your other receivers, then you'll go in. My way would be, if the flashing, so if you're flashing, go ahead and put in the binding phrase. Hopefully everything works out, your binding phrases work, and everything just links up. If it doesn't, go check that web UI, which you can connect to by connecting to the Wi-Fi that you're broadcasting by your receiver or your transmitter, and then go type in the binding phrase in the web UI to make sure that you've got the correct binding phrase, because the web UI takes precedence, and some devices might have web UI data already there.
Yeah, I would say the first thing I would do is I would log into the web browser interface and just type the binding phrase in. And while I was there, I would look at what version number was on the module. And then I would log into the web browser interface on the receiver, and fingers crossed it's the same version. Fingers crossed they're both on Express LRS 3, at which point you just put the same binding phrase into the receiver and you're good to go and you saved yourself. But then if the versions don't match, then you're going to have to flash and things get a little more complicated.
The one thing I wasn't sure of, I think in 1.0 the web UI didn't show the correct version, but does it in 2.0?
I don't think 1.0 had the web UI at all. I thought that got added.
It did have a web UI.
It did.
Well, it had a web flashing interface, but it didn't have the web UI. So 2.0 does show you the correct version. Is that right? That's the thing I wasn't sure about.
It shows the correct version, as far as I know. Yeah, for sure.
10-4.
We got the goats to eat the poison. Goats like to eat poison ivy. It doesn't hurt them. They're just not susceptible to it. They're immune to it, and they think it tastes good. So if you put some goats in the woods over the course of a few weeks, they'll just eat all the poison ivy in the woods, and the woods won't have any poison ivy, and that'll be nice. So that's why we got the goats. But the goats they were hand-raised because we wanted pet goats that didn't try to run away and escape, and we don't have to worry too much about them escaping. And the problem is that since they're pet goats and we're bottle raised, they don't want to be alone in the woods all day by themselves. They want to come into the house. So instead of being in the woods and eating the poison ivy, they come and sit on my patio and shit all over my furniture. Because they can't be on the ground. They have to be up on the table and stuff. So now they live over there and they don't get to eat poison ivy, but they also don't get to shit on my furniture. We don't milk them. We don't eat them for meat. They're supposed to be working and they're not. But they're cute. So, Hugh Bradburn, thanks for a $2 super chat. No sausage doggy, no love. True. Mechanicern, thank you for 25 Norwegian kroner. Can you herd your goats with a quad? You can. It feels a little bit mean, but because they're terrified, but you can do it. Okay. Mike Bergman is still waiting for Black Jungle to make a goat meme. Guess what? Black Jungle is on the memes. He already made it. Yeah, that's about right. We got a $9.99, $10 from Don Dupuis. Thank you for $10, Don. I used butter on my V2 goggles and rolled back to 0607, not 0606. Only shows 0607. How would you upgrade if you wanted to? Actually, Don, there's a quirk to butter, and that is that butter rolls you back to 0606 or whatever it says it would. I don't remember. But the version number that the goggles show still says whatever the goggles were on before you buttered them. So for some reason, butter can't change that actual number. So a lot of people run butter. It seems to work. They look at the version number and they go, what do you mean it didn't work? Except if you think about it, Don, after you used butter, your goggles were reset. You lost all your binds, yada, yada, yada. Butter worked. They're on 0606. It's just they're just saying they're on 0607. So what you should do is you should root them. And then after they're rooted, now you update them to whatever firmware version you want them to be on via DJI Assistant. And then they'll show the correct version number. And then install WTFOS and all that other nonsense.
Just a reminder also, if you're buttering and having no success or having problems rolling back, you can't root after that. Remember that you do need to switch to the DIY mode of the goggles. I've helped quite a few people with that because they were confused about that. And if you can't switch, you need to update your goggles forward to the latest if you have to. Then that will let you roll back with butter once you can switch to that DIY mode.
Okay, so first update your goggles to the latest version.
If you can't
then switch to the FPV mode. Then butter them to get them back to 0606. Then root them. Then flash the latest firmware again. Then install WTFOS.
Also,
it's just that simple, folks. I don't know why this is hard for you.
And it is important to at least flash to 102.0001 or later. Because after you've done the root and stuff, you can't just leave them on the old stuff, even if you have old hardware. Because there's a bug that was only fixed on the drone side, even though it's not available for the DIY side, that stopped blackout issues and a power loss bug. So you need to update past 102.0001. Or to that version.
And people
so
say...
I would just update to the latest, because it is supported by WTFOS.
People say you can't make a career out of FPV. We got a super chat here from Mario Guzman for $2. Thank you, Mario, for $2. It's barely goats. And Christoph FPV, thanks for $10 super chat. I need a new controller for my Emax Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle and my Hawk Pro. What's the best or easiest FreeSky D8 controller I can buy? I mean, to tell you the truth, I would, what's your budget? I would say look in the $100-ish price range at things like the Radiomaster Zorro, the Radiomaster Boxer, or perhaps you like the Jumper T-Lite Pro or something like that. Any one of them with a 4-in-1 module will bind to a D8 receiver and will be a good quality controller. If you are only at the $40 or $60 range, then it gets a little harder to pick something. But I think it's worth spending closer to $100 if you plan to be in the hobby for the next couple of years. Thoughts, Blunty?
Yeah, just remember. Yeah, just remember you're using that controller for like everything forever, including your simulator stuff, or at least until you upgrade your controller again. And your drones are going to cost well over that amount unless you're just buying a tiny whip to start. And even then, it's going to cost as much or more than that cheap controller you were going to buy. So I would definitely consider spending a little bit of money and getting something good there.
Yeah. Okay, great.